Hello, everyone. I'm Angeline, and she's Resa, and welcome to episode 115, the season 1 finale of With the Quickness.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. Today, we're going to share our takeaways from the August 28th sermons given at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and a past sermon given at the Pilgrim Baptist Church of St. Paul's, Minnesota. Okay, Resa, what was your big takeaway from First Baptist today?
Basically, when God puts a plan in place, don't doubt him.
My big takeaway was you cannot manipulate your narrative to fit your plans because God is in control. What is your takeaway from Pilgrim Baptist Church in St. Paul's, Minnesota?
To stay connected with Christ.
Okay. My big takeaway is we need to depend on God and rely on him. Before we get more into those sermons, let's go to Resa's playlist for the song of the week. Resa, what's up?
Okay, so this song I'm very excited to introduce. First and foremost, I want to say this artist is a part of Warren Campbell's label titled My Block Inc. And if the name sounds a little familiar, that's because he is married to Erica Campbell from Mary Mary. The artist that I'm going to be talking about, her name is Lena Byrd Miles, and the song that I'm going to be talking about is W.O.W, which stands for Walk on Water. So for those of you who don't know who Lena Byrd Miles is, she is actually a new artist. I'm going to briefly read to you what I found off of the My Block Inc. website. She is a sought-after vocalist in contemporary gospel. She has a soulful and extraordinary vocal prowess, which has caught the attention of musicians and artists alike. She has performed with Ty Tribbett, Layla Hathaway, Dietrich Haddon, Dorinda, John P. Key, Doobie Powell, the late Thomas T.C. Clay, and more. And she was privileged to sing with the legendary Edwin Hawkins as a part of the new Edwin Hawkins Singers, and that's where it all begins, or excuse me, where it all began for her. She is from Oakland. She's been singing since she was 4 years old. In addition, she is a wife, she's a daughter, she's a sister, a friend, and she is a licensed hairstylist. And she has a very unique ability to connect with people. She also has a innate comedic prowess and a infectious laugh that will draw you in. She has compassion for mankind and will cause you to appreciate her heart. So, with that being said, because that's really wonderful to know about her, the song "Walk on Water." When I first heard it, the song to me sounds a little familiar. Now, for those of us that love music like I do, if you've ever heard Jackson 5's Heartbreak Hotel, this song samples that. That's why it sounds very familiar. And I really like the song because they took basically some of the cadence from that song and they made it gospel, but I really, really like it. So it is an upbeat song. And I definitely advise everyone to check it out. It is on YouTube. So please check it out.
So it's going to be available on our website, www.withquickness.com, her video. But you really like the song? You feel like it's a good end of the summer feel? Or is it like one of those great, going to take us into the fall?
I definitely feel like it is a really good like end of the summer song. This song is going to be a part of her up and coming album. I don't know the name of the album because I couldn't find it. But if anybody knows about it, please let me know so we can talk. Well, so we can put it on our website. But I couldn't find the name of her up and coming album.
Okay, maybe it's still in the works. I mean, to name an album is a really important thing. I mean, so it could be taking as she comes across her songs and gets the album more together. Maybe one lead song might be this album title, or she might just call it a certain kind of body of work. So maybe she might even email you herself. And if you wish to, her name is Lena, right? Email Resa at withquickness.com. And then she can definitely make an announcement to the rest of us here. Thank you so much for sharing your playlist, Resa. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And I look forward to you like shifting everything around and mixing everything up during the break between the seasons, so we can get started for season 2's new playlist. Oh my gosh. I can't believe you have a complete capsule now of all the music for the season already.
Yes, I'm so excited to be moving around like the first season songs to make them more cohesive as far as like an actual playlist, and then like you said, to gear up for season 2.
Great. So let's go on to the main content of our show. We're going to go over to First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey. They began with the praise and worship team, as always, setting the tone in the sanctuary. They sang some new songs today that we hadn't heard before, and Miles had another guest solo. That was really good. He was singing today.
Yeah, Miles was honestly, he really was singing. Like, I really like him as a singer though, because he's very passionate. So
yeah, and he has one of those voices that, he doesn't rush the notes. He actually takes his time with the notes, and he gets you a chance to actually hear the timbre of his voice a little bit, because some people just do the big notes and the shouting type singing and they really feel the room. His is the kind of voice that almost like a Brian McKnight, laid back. You got to listen to it, right? Because he could shout if he wants to, but I think he feels better in his normal register, just letting the microphone do most of the work. Right. And that you have to hear the nuances of his voice. So I'm really glad that the sound ministry kind of made sure he had the right mic, and that no one was rushing him. Even the director made sure that he had a song that was suited to his kind of voice. Man, I don't know what's going to go on with this I press my gifts, and who else is going to pop up that's going to be singing for First Baptist, but Miles got a spot for sure. He became a crowd favorite online. We kind of like looking forward to hearing him sing.
Yeah, I like hearing him sing. And there's a woman, I forgot her name, but she does sing every Sunday. And I'm gonna find her name at some point. But she can also sing really good too.
Yes. Some churches believe that if you're really anointed to sing and have one of those crystal clear voices that have been singing since you were small, those are the ones who should be singing all the solos. And First Baptist has never been that way. First Baptist is like, you can learn to become a better singer, a stronger singer, the more we put you out there. And I like that, to have a director that says, I hear something, I see the talent, but it needs to be matured. So I'm going to put you in this situation where you're going to be forced to grow your gift. Love that. Oh my goodness. Love that. Now, would I like that same kind of, thing with the drums and on the keyboard? I don't know if I want somebody that plays the same chords, like that one. Remember that one Reverend said last Sunday?
Yeah.
She was saying, he kept playing the same chords, and I was like, ooh. I don't think I want that in the musicians, but in the singers, I like how they give a little more grace to their gift and know that they're working with it. If they crack on a note, it's okay. You're up there singing it though. We're feeling more the spirit that you're giving us during the song and less about perfection. We know that sometimes you can get touched by the spirit and get locked up. You can get choked up too by the spirit when you sing certain words. So I like that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, because, again, they are using their vocal cords, which, it is a muscle, but like you said, you can be filled with the spirit and it can lock up. And sometimes you might got to take a minute and walk off, which has happened a couple of times where people have it took a minute just to walk to the side so they can gather themselves and try to unlock it, because it is kind of hard to continue to sing when your voice has locked because the spirit has filled you. But once it has passed and it does release, it does, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little scary to me, but it does happen.
And that's why the background singers were so great, because they could hear when they're paying enough attention, like the musicians, that if you need help on certain things, that they will chime in and they will sing certain parts, because they know that either you're getting, the spirit is upon you and you're feeling a little choked up, or you're having problems hitting a note, they'll help with that note. But they're always encouraging. And the beautiful thing about church too, I like, is those church mamas, those church mothers that know that baby's up there trying their best at singing. They will applaud you. They'll tell you, come on, you can do it. They'll shout for you and realize, don't worry about that little crack. No. We know what you're saying on behalf of the spirit. We know the lyrics you're trying to get out. I love that. And this Sunday, they had the lyrics at the bottom of the screen online.
I saw that.
Did you see that? I like that.
I like it too.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to keep doing that or not, because it's kind of a bit of a labor to make sure the songs are up there with all the lyrics. It takes a little bit of work on the production side. So I'm not sure if they're going to always be able to do that. But when they can do it, we appreciate it. We appreciated it this Sunday.
Of course, yeah.
So after they set this tone, Reverend Patterson presented the I Press My Gift moment. Because Pastor Quick was actually teaching, giving his sermon at another church this Sunday. So we're going to miss him this Sunday. So Reverend Patterson was setting the tone, and it actually featured Sister Bonnie Evans, who spoke about her gift of compassionate service. So if you get a chance to check out that part of the video of FBCLG, please do. And then we went into the sermon with our guest speaker that was speaking to us on behalf of Pastor Quick. Our speaker was Reverend Trevor A. Hyde, Jr. of Berean Baptist Church of Brooklyn, New York. The scriptures were 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1 from the New Revised Standard Version, where Naaman suffered from leprosy and the prophet Elijah told him to wash in the river. In his intro, Reverend Hyde complimented First Baptist and Reverend Quick for the excellence he experienced from this body of God. Appreciate that. He mentioned everybody from our security to, those in hospitality, to everyone that he encountered. And that was really, really nice that in our pastor's absence, he could feel that we were very welcoming and that he's really enjoying his time with us. He even talked about tithing. He said, I should be tithing. So if you see a zero up there, don't pay any mind to it. But he really appreciated our church and his friendship with our pastor. He said, we need to keep the big picture in mind. He said, Naaman was a great man of valor and might, and he knew how to see the big picture, but he had a need that was affecting the quality of his life. And that's when he went into seeking our healings. He said, whatever you need healing from will show up in other parts of your life. Naaman had many victories, but he was still battling something that he needed a victory from. Naaman showed up for his healing with all of his wealth. When he came to Elijah, he was showing it, but internally, he had an internal blindness to what was broken in him. Elijah sent his servant to meet Naaman instead of talking to him himself face to face, which Naaman had a problem with, and it showed that he had a problem with pride. This can be seen because he argued with everything that he was asked to do by a man of God. And a lot of times we have that same kind of issue and problem. Our pastor of the day, Reverend Hyde, said there's no detour to getting us to our greatest version of ourselves. And then he went to a key part of his sermon. He said we have to trust God in order to kill our pride. When God puts a plan in place, like Resa said, you can't doubt him. That was a really strong point. He said we must remove any preconceived notions about our lives because God can grow us with simple acts of faith. He went on to say, you cannot manipulate your narrative to fit your plans because God is in control. And the next big thing in your life can be activated by little things. So Resa, how did you feel when he was talking about how really, really small things in our lives can actually move our faith and actually help us deal with pride and things that are holding us back in the kingdom?
Oh, he's definitely right. Because sometimes some people think, oh, I need to do like such grand gestures in order to move my faith. But sometimes like something small. It's like that. It's the analogy about like one drop in the water, how it makes like a ripple effect. Like that one little step can actually make a bigger thing happen. So sometimes when you start small, it does create a bigger.
I know when I first came into the faith as a young girl, I remember just trying to pray. And I thought prayers had to be really long and grand because as you can see at the beginning of First Baptist, when that reverend prayed, it was a long prayer. And when you're a little person or a new person in Christ and you hear that prayer, the first thing, it feels a little intimidating. Like, is God expecting me to pray like that? Because I can't pray like that. Mm-hmm. And so usually the new member instructor will tell you, it's more important to have a conversation with God. And it seems so small for someone to say, what do you mean? Just talk to him. Just talk to him. I just heard that great prayer where everybody was saying, and hallelujah, and yes, Lord. I could hear them all around me making sounds about how great this prayer was. And you're just telling me just to talk. It seems too simple to work, right? But that's how you start getting into your faith walk. That's how you become a better prayer, a better person in your prayer. I don't want to say better person, but that's how you become more proficient in your prayers or be able to get your thoughts across better to God in your prayers. It starts off just talking. It's not about quoting scriptures to God. He knows his scriptures. You ain't got to say any scriptures. It's not about, giving a lot of metaphors and imagery. He knows all the imagery. He knows what you're trying to say. He knows your heart. It's more about the conversation. Man, we heard this during this season. One pastor said he wants you just to be real with him. And it sounds so simple, that small little thing, but it can activate bigger things in your life. Just getting in the habit of talking regularly to him gets you more stronger in your faith. Just getting the habit of speaking with him gets you more able to let his grace work in your life in different ways. It makes you more willing to have him involved in a lot of your life decisions just by regular talking to your God. regular praying. Some people can't get on their knees for health reasons. Their legs will fall asleep if they try to get on their knees. And so they say it's okay just to sit where you are and be prayerful. It's okay to clasp your hands over your plate and be prayerful. Or some people don't clasp their hands. It's too noticeable for them and they feel a little awkward. So they just bow their head or just close their eyes. Those things are okay. They're small things, but they lead to bigger things, like Reverend Hyde said. How do you feel about that?
I definitely feel like you said, like even with a prayer, like you have to just, just start at level 1 and then just start talking, and then you will become more proficient, where maybe you do start, you go from a conversation to, maybe I wouldn't say quoting the Bible, because technically he knows what's in the Bible, but maybe
some people do though. Some people do. Some people
Yeah.
give little passages and phrases like "You are Alpha and from Omega." You are, they say stuff that you read in the Bible,
right?
You are Jehovah Jireh. You are, the beginning and the end. Stuff that you read in Genesis. They say little pieces that you know from Scripture,
right?
And it sounds really good when you're before a congregation. And it sounds really good when you're before your family or you're giving the prayer at Thanksgiving. But when it's just you and God, sometimes I pray about things, Resa, that get me choked up, like I'm going through a hard time. And it's not about calling him every name that I know that he's known by. It's just about just talking to him. And sometimes I can't talk. Sometimes I'm like, all I can say is, Lord, help. And that's the prayer, and just being still. And I'm choked up in the throat and he just takes over. Right. Sometimes the prayer is just a couple words and a feeling.
True.
Yeah. Pastor Hyde went on to say, in your moments of desperation, God may ask you to perform a simple act of faith to heal you. Remember, Jesus came to make our lives easier, not harder. So trust God, listen to his voice, and then do the little things. Stop arguing with God. That's a big point, right? A lot of us think things have to be our way when it comes to God, but we just got to stop arguing. It's kind of hard when he tells you to do stuff, though. Like this podcast, I was like, you sure you want us to podcast? I'm supposed to be writing this book. Or he showed me who my husband was supposed to be. Like he said, oh, he's a good guy. I'm like, oh no, God, that can't be him. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be him. Come on, And then he's like, no, I think you should go out with him. And I was like, I said, well, I try to tell God, well, I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. I'm not gonna try to be like super worried about his feelings. I'm just going to be very truthful, and I'm going to be just 100% me. And God was like, go right ahead, be 100% you. So, and it wasn't any of that auditioning that you do try to make sure. I wasn't saying I was being cruel. It wasn't cruel to the person I'm dating, but I wasn't going to be overly concerned about appearance's sake and how I present things and how I say things. And when I eventually reveal stuff, he asked me a question, I'm answering it. If he did something I like, I'm gonna say, I don't like that. and if it didn't work out, I was gonna tell God, see, told you he wasn't gonna be the one. But that never happened. Right. Being myself was actually the best thing I could have done because I'm married.
This is true, because again, like you said, like sometimes he'll ask you to do things, or he'll tell you things, and then for whatever reason, two days later, now you want to question it, like, oh, I know you said such and such, during my last prayer, but I'm not even sure. And it's like, and he's like, I just told you, this is gonna happen. You gotta wait, you gotta be patient. Like you can't question what he already told you that he has in store for you, or you can't try to, like, I guess, barter in a sense when he asks you to do something. It's just like, just do it.
Yeah, but the little kid in me likes to barter things. The little kid in me is like, come on, is there some way we can get around this and do it my way? And as a loving parent, he normally says, no, we're doing it my way. Because I told him once, I'm ready. He's like, no, you need to get ready. Right. Because I thought I knew what the path was going to be. I thought I knew. And he's like, nah, you got glimpses of stuff, but you don't know where I'm taking you. I'm taking you where I want to take you.
True.
So sit over there, stop being a backseat driver, and then let's just go. I'm like, okay, So Reverend Hyde's sermon, Do the Little Things, was live streamed on August 28th, 2022 on the FBC Somerset YouTube channel. When you get a chance, check it out. Now, before we go on to the next sermon, I have to remind everybody, we're at the end of our pastoral series. We were going to present 7 churches, and we already did 6. If you don't remember, here they are: Reverend Brian K. Woodson Sr., the founding pastor of the Bay Area Christian Convention, gave a sermon at Allen Temple Baptist Church in Oakland, California. That was our first stop. Our second stop was to Bethel AME Church in Baltimore, where we listened to AME's 117th elected consecrated bishop, Vashti Murphy McKenzie, who's retired. She gave a sermon. Then we went over to New Orleans, Louisiana, and listened to Bishop R.C. Blakes Jr., the senior pastor of New Home Family Worship Center. Then Pastor Keon Henderson, the senior pastor of the Lighthouse Church and Ministries, Houston, which is located in Humble, Texas, gave us our fourth sermon. Then our fifth sermon was given by Reverend Ernest F. Ledbetter III, the senior pastor of Mount Pisgah Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois. And then last week, if you remember correctly, we had a wonderful singer/pastor, Bishop Marvin Saps, the senior pastor of the Chosen Vessel Cathedral in Fort Worth, Texas. He was our sixth pastoral pastor that gave his word. So now today, we are going to Pilgrim Baptist Church of St. Paul, Minnesota. And we're going to listen to, we're going to give you a brief synopsis of Reverend Dr. Charles Gill, who is the senior pastor there. His sermon was called Trees of the Kingdom. The scriptures are from Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 through 9 of the New International Version. Which speaks about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And then Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 through 5 of the NIV. On each side of the river were trees of life that can heal the nation. And these trees grew different fruit each month of the year, and its leaves healed the nation. Reverend Dr. Gill started off by saying there are many different types of trees with different characteristics. He recalled a semi-autobiographical novel called A Tree Grows in Brooklyn that was written by Betty Smith. This is a story that focuses on an impoverished but inspirational adolescent girl and her Irish-American family that live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York, during the first 2 decades of the 20th century. There is a significant tree in this story that survives after others have tried to destroy it. So Dr. Gill Reverend Dr. Gill said, what kind of tree do you identify with? Is it thriving? Is it sickly? Is it bearing fruit, or is it barren? So he really wants us to keep that image in our mind, because he went on to talk a little bit more about how God grants us everything that we possess. And he touched upon Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a great tree. This great tree was sheltering the whole world, but an angelic watcher appeared and decreed that the tree must be cut down, and that for 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar would have his human mind taken away from him. So all the things that were revealed in the dream came to pass. And at the end of King Nebuchadnezzar's punishment, he praised God for the things that Daniel had, interpreted for his dream. We need to depend on God and rely on him. Now, in this sermon, Reverend Gill said, we need to be reminded of what will cause our tree to flourish. And the tree meaning us, right? We need to worship our sovereign God. We need to be connected to the vine, which is Christ. And we need to draw on the word daily and bear fruit in its season. So Resa, when you think about what helps you flourish right now as you're on your walk, what is the big things that really help you every day, every week, to have a good week, to stay in your faith?
Definitely prayer. So starting my day off by talking to God, playing gospel music throughout the week keeps me calm. Yeah. And then I feel like before I go to sleep, saying it's Psalms 91 prayer. I say that before I go to sleep, so I can just sleep.
Yeah, that's really nice. He said, which tree is your metaphor? Before he ended, he said, which tree of the kingdom do you identify with today? He gave us 3 trees. One was the Eden tree, which is the tree of good and evil, which causes us to be obedient. He said the Babylonian tree, which is a tree, that tree is dealing with pride and selfishness that's cut down, but after you repent, it becomes fruitful and it's restored. And in the psalmist tree, it was planted by the river of water. It was rooted in the word of God and bears fruit in its season. He said, no matter what tree of those three you are identified with, you have to pass by the tree of Calvary, which has the blood of, because it has power because of the blood of Christ. I never looked at Calvary, the cross, as a tree, but I guess it is. It's made out of wood. It can be interpreted that way by some. I look at it more as a crucifix cross, but, it could be seeing Calvary in this metaphor, like he's trying to carry it out. He kind of tied it to Calvary, right, saying the Calvary tree. So I kind of get that. What did you think when he tried to tie it to Calvary in that way?
I was a little, I'm not gonna lie, I was like a little confused. I was like, wait, Calvary? And then I was just like, so I was like a little lost in that sense. Cause like, what do you mean by like Calvary? Like, as far
Calvary tree, yeah, because you think of Calvary, that's the place where Jesus was resurrected. I don't think of it as a tree either. I think of it more like like a crucifix cross. When I think of Calvary, I don't think about a tree. But yeah, it is made out of wood, so I get what he's saying. He tried to tie it in together. But those that wish to view Reverend Dr. Charles Gill sermon called The Trees of the Kingdom, please go to the Pilgrim Baptist Church of St. Paul, Minnesota's YouTube channel. Sorry about that sound. It's probably my Basenji up there playing his bone above my head. He does that from time to time. It's okay. On Sundays, he can have a bone. So let's go on to the screening room. Now, I've been throughout the season giving you movies from the PureFlix catalog. Last week, I kind of deviated from it. Last 2 weeks, we did the Clark Sisters movie. We did Bishop Sapp's movie. I'm going to go again to something else that's not with the PureFlix catalog because they're not a sponsor of the show. I'm going to go into something that ties us back a little bit to Bishop T.D. Jakes. Bishop T.D. Jakes has a series of movies called the 7 Deadly Sins. And there's one that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention because the acting that was done by a couple of young ladies and it was stellar for me. That was the one called Greed. It's a 7 Deadly Sin story. It was written by Usay Houston Jabo and Monique N. Matthews. It was directed by Troy Scott and it stars Monique Coleman, Nathan White, Eric Benet, LisaRaye McCoy, and others. Here's a brief synopsis. Interior decorator Zuri Maxwell had it all. A career she adored, loving family, good friends, and a good man in her life, artist Stephen Gardner. But greed threatened to destroy everything when Zuri meets handsome benefactor and entrepreneur Godfrey Anderson and his fabulously wealthy relative, Miss Viv. They have everything Zuri wants. As Godfrey romances her, she compromises the values and morals to be part of a deceptive, affluent world she desperately wants. The themes of the movie are lies, betrayal, danger of spiritual ruin, idolatry, greed, coveting, morals, values, stewardship, God's grace, and redemption. You can see the trailer for this movie at www.withquickness.com. And for me, I love the story. Did you watch this movie when it came out, Resa? It came out earlier this year.
To be honest, like I wanted to watch this movie and I think I caught the last like 30 minutes and I was kind of annoyed because I really wanted to see it because it had like LisaRaye McCoy in it. It had, oh my gosh.
Eric Benet.
I believe the Brat was in it too for a little bit in that movie, Greed.
Oh, I'm not sure. I have to look at that. I saw it and I really liked it for LisaRaye McCoy's acting for Miss Viv. She came off so good. And so Monique Coleman did too. Monique Coleman actually plays Zuri Maxwell. And she's this young, bright-eyed, just wanting to be good at her career. And Miss Viv is very seasoned and very good at manipulation. And she played the heck out of that role. I wanted that woman to go down. I did. I was like, ooh, she knew that young girl just wanted to have a nice affluent career. She didn't want to commit crimes and things of that sort. I'm not going to give anything away. I'm just saying that they took her on a seedy route. But redemption does happen in this movie. And it was really well done, considering a lot of things felt rushed in some places. I know on some websites, they say Miss Viv was the Eric Benet's character, Godfrey, is supposed to be his aunt, but in the actual movie, he says a couple of times she's his cousin. That's why in my synopsis, I said his relative, because I don't know what way they're really trying to play her. I think they should have kept her as a cousin. They might have wanted her to be an aunt, but LisaRaye McCoy looks too good to be somebody's auntie, to be a lot older than him. I think her and Eric Benet look more like cousins.
Yeah,
you're gonna have them. Yeah, so
yeah.
so I think they need to change all them websites to say she's the cousin, because even in the movie he said cousin. But it's a really good movie that deals with greed, and I think it's good for these times because we have so many things that are pushing our values, making us look at more about getting and having stuff instead of what you can give to others, and having service for our fellow man, and having compassion for each other. I know I probably should have put a movie here that dealt with gifts again, because I pressed my gift for First Baptist. But this is the end of the season, and I really did not want to end the season without giving a shout out to LisaRaye McCoy. We loved your work. You need to get more roles, because maybe you're just very selective in your roles right now. That could be what it is. But you played the heck out of this lady, a powerful lady with a lot of influence. And I enjoyed not liking you during this movie. But you can also play great things where we all adore you. So, don't play the villain for too much longer, because I know she has a lot of range. So I just want you to know that we did appreciate your work in the movie Greed, a 7 Deadly Sin story. Really appreciated her. So, Resa, are you going to check it out now that you only caught a little bit of it? You're going to check the rest of it out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Now, this is we're ending the season. And as you all know, before the Bema seat has been a dream of mine to have the Christian experience of someone to be shared on this broadcast. Different people each week. We would hear something. I get to ask them my great 7 questions. I had this dream in my head. But as you know, as we learned from one of the pastors today, it's not about your plans. God's in control. So God put it on my heart that we're going to be doing something a little bit different next season, that he does want me to share Christian experiences, but it doesn't have to be someone that sits here before us. So I'm going to be doing what a lot of people that are English majors love to do, which is research. And so I will be researching some people that had some great experience that happened to them. And they say to the world, I don't know how this happened. It had to be God. So I'm going to be finding some of those stories and bringing them to you. And hopefully if there's some video and things that, where they actually could share some of their own words, I can share small snippets, because I don't want to infringe on anybody's copyright. I'll be mostly telling these Christian tales. I know when I was new in my faith, what helped me go was every time I learned something new in my faith walk, there was always a good example or story to back it up. Sometimes it's a biblical story that helped me, and sometimes it was a real life story. So I'm going to try to find some of those real life stories that kind of tie into the sermons a little bit, to kind of help those that are new and rededicated. And hopefully, as people come forward and wish to be interviewed, I'll be able to swap some of those stories out for interviews. But I'm going to put something in that spot, because God said, yeah, there should be some place where you can get some more influence and understanding how other people's faith walks are going. So what do you think about that, Resa? Is that going to be a good little change for season 2?
I actually like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're going to look up people. It could be famous people, not famous people, but just finding stories of people that said it had to do with faith, and it had to do with their faith that helped things take place or happen, how the miracles took place in their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like that, because I do like to learn about other people's stories. So I'm very excited for that segment.
Me too, because actually will be factual. It won't be like, I heard one day there was a something that happened with a guy and a child. No, we'll actually find the stories. We'll tell you the names. We'll tell you what happened, and have you guys, give us some feedback, on it. And if there's a place on the internet where you can actually follow them on Twitter or Instagram, we'll share their information. And if there's a story or something up there where you can actually read the article yourself or watch the video yourself, we'll let you know. So that way you can share some great faith, real life things that happen right now in our world that people still said God did that for them. And you can pass those stories along.
Yeah.
All right, great. So look forward for that for next season. And since we're wrapping up the season, we need to tell you when we'll be back, right, Resa? When did we decide?
Yes, we do. We are going to be back October 2nd, which is the first Sunday of October.
That's right. We're taking a month off. So in all of the month of September, you might be finding us on YouTube putting up our bloopers. I don't think I'll put our bloopers up on where we are streaming, as a podcast, because it wouldn't make as much sense and be as much fun. So please join us on our YouTube channel if you wish to see some of the things we're going to be saying and some of the bloopers. That was a blooper right there. If you wish to see some of our bloopers that have been compiled from the complete season 1, we have a lot of them.
We do.
But we will be putting them together in a way will make sense. There might be music behind them too to make them a little funnier. It might be sound effects, but it'll be a lot of fun. It'll give us a chance to laugh at ourselves and see how far we've come. And behind the scenes in production, we'll be working on season 2 and how we're going to come out the gate. And hopefully it'll have a great spin to it. And hopefully you guys have missed us at that time and want to hear about what's going on at First Baptist and what's going on the movie scene and on the music scene. And we'll be able to help get everybody up to speed then. Are you excited about our break, Resa?
Yes. I'm very excited to recharge and come back refreshed. Back to you guys.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it only because I'm a professor too. So like, and not only being an administrator for Rutgers, there's so much to do at the start of classes when you're in higher ed. Just like everybody else, it's not just buying book bags and stuff at school like you do in high school and middle school. College is like a whole bunch of adding and dropping courses and students getting lost on campus and trying to direct them and being able to give them, their assignments as a professor and making sure you're 100% present. And I really don't want the podcast to get in the way of me being 100% present for my students and for my colleagues at Rutgers during a very, very busy time, which is the first weeks of classes. So I'm going to put the podcast over here for a minute, for a month. So I'm not going to be on a beach or anything. I'll just be in the trenches at my jobs that pay the bills. And so will Resa. She'll be at the jobs that pay the bills, like giving a little more dedication and time. And at the same time, thinking about the production and how we want to come back strong for season 2. So if you can hold on for 4 weeks, check us out on YouTube as we put things up here and there. To touch base with you guys. We so look forward to seeing you, right, Resa? I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss everybody.
Yeah, I will definitely miss you all, but I will also be enjoying my time off to recharge.
Yeah. Yeah. So that means after Sunday, instead of jumping online like we normally do, we'll actually just be eating dinner and probably just, watching a good movie or watching 60 Minutes like the rest of the world. We're doing something like that, like normal Sunday stuff, getting our clothes ready for Monday morning. We'll be doing regular Sunday stuff instead of sitting in our offices recording.
Right.
Yeah. I hope you'll be able to come back. I hope we're not going to say to me, this has been so nice. Can we extend? I hope you'll be wanting to come back and raring to come back at that time.
Yeah, I definitely think I'll be coming back.
I think so too. I've had a lot of fun doing this, especially doing this with you. You've made this a lot of fun for me. I wanted to tell you that. And you could have chosen said like, Mom, a podcast. I did that with you already in college. I don't want to do another podcast, but you didn't. You're like, I'll give it a shot. And you did it excellently. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I definitely, you definitely made it easy for me. And I did have a good time doing it with you as well. But, I always want to try things before I say no. So I'm glad I gave it a try.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And who knows, next season, it might be even better. Yeah. Who knows? We might actually have a couple guests. I'm praying for that, Resa. I was really praying that Bema was going to take off, but God said he's going to give us something else a little different. And who knows, maybe some of those stories, I might be able to get some of the people behind those stories to even just give us some audio to call them up and, get some recordings from them. Who knows,
Right.
We'll try to get some local stories first. How about that? We'll try to get some local Jersey flavor in there during the season, and then we'll branch out throughout the United States, see what we can find.
Yeah, that definitely sounds good to me. Let's start at home first, and then before we travel out, to the full country.
Let's at least try a couple stories around here, because that way I can do my investigative research a lot easier, because I'm like right here in Jersey. I could actually look up stuff a lot better. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your Sunday and have a great month without us in September. And we'll be checking in though. So if you're on Instagram or Twitter, you can always give us a shout out, and send us a message. And on YouTube, please watch some former videos of ours, some of the past season. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, make a comment, because we read all of those and it actually helps us in our production for season 2. Well, Resa, have a great night. I will see you on the other side, dear.
Thank you so much. And I also want to say, because September is back to school month, shout out to all the kids going back to school, and good luck to all the seniors. It's your last year in school. Woo. Have a, again, I hope everyone has a great month in September.
Yeah. And for those that are graduating college, this is your last season. Do not get senioritis until spring break time. Buckle down in the fall semester. Just buckle down and get the work done. It's nothing worse than someone just being one credit away from graduation, Resa. I don't want that to happen to anybody. Yeah. I want everybody to make it.
Of course.
All right. Bye, Resa, and bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I just can't stop thinking about you.